Braves. Our boy Peter Burns joins us now from the SEC Network. Peter, man, welcome in. We're back from Indy where it was an all SEC party. We saw some of your coverage there on the SEC Network as well. It's good to be king, and the Georgia Bulldogs finally got it done. What's been the reaction from Georgia people you know about finally getting one?
Yeah, that it's still surreal, right? Like we talked to Travis Denning, who's a country western star, and he was just like, I must have watched the game already like 15 different times, right? Just kind of chaos. And it was funny as I was listening to you talk about the headlines. I got SEC Network in my studio here at the house, and they're showing the opening game against Clemson, and I'm like, man, like, you know, we thought they were pretty good, and then I keep seeing JT Daniels pass the ball in that game. They didn't have a whole hell of a lot of offense in that one. But just how different it was, like what a weird season it was, not only for Georgia, but for Alabama. And I said this, and it upset some Tide fans, which I don't know if you guys have Tide fans listening, right? They're in Alabama, just one or two. But I said Georgia winning this was so important for how we'll look back at 2021 as a season. Because with the amount of upsets that we had a bunch of new blood in the college football playoff. Had it been Alabama once again, it would have just been like, yeah, and that was another year that Alabama won it. But to kind of cap off what I still think was one of the best college football seasons we've had maybe in 20 seasons, that you needed somebody else to win it. And the way that it happened, right? With Stetson Bennett, the walk-on, winning it against the Heisman Trophy 5-star kid. I mean, it's a damn storybook ending and one that worked well for the SEC.
Yeah, let me go there with Stetson Bennett. And it was just an awesome story. And you know, Tuesday morning when we were doing the show from the media hotel before we left Indy, I brought up the fact that Stetson Bennett, you know, the option is, you know, come back, sell insurance, or, you know, I don't know what another option is. It doesn't seem like the NFL is the option. I assume he comes back, and if you're Kirby Smart, the only option is you start the guy that won a national championship for you. But then Dunaway brought up, I think it was on yesterday's show, what Kirby Smart doesn't want to do is lose another Justin Fields. And he's got two 5-star guys that are going to be in that quarterback room. So it seems like, along with JT Daniels, it seems like there's kind of a dilemma. Do you assume Stetson Bennett is going to be your starting quarterback next year against Oregon?
Well, so let's start with the Stetson aspect of it, right? And part of some of the SiriusXM shows I do or was with Aaron Murray, and Aaron and Stetson are really close. And I asked Aaron that yesterday. I was like, so what's Stetson doing? He's like, Stetson told me he wants to play. Like, he wants to come back. He wants to play football. He wants to play at Georgia. This is where he's at, right? So that Stetson wants to come back. At least that's what we're being told. So the Kirby Smart is kind of angle of it is a little bit more intriguing, and I'm fascinated by this, right? Because you have lost that Justin Fields type character. You have, what is it, Vandergriff, and is it Carson Beck's the other guy, along with JT Daniels. I mean, you're chock full, and it felt like at some point you won games despite Stetson Bennett, as crazy as and maybe harsh as that sounds, because of how good your defense was. Is the defense going to be able to carry you again? I'm not quite sure if that's going to be the case, and I don't know. I mean, I think there's a whole lot less pressure now on Kirby to make the right decision in that because he did win on Monday night. And my goodness, can you imagine had after that fumble happened, Lance, if you're talking about that fumble happens and Stetson Bennett doesn't throw, you know, a touchdown late into that game, what the whole commentary would have been about why JT Daniels never even stepped foot either in the SEC championship game or the national championship game. It'd have been meltdown from everybody in Athens. So Kirby had a great conversation with Reese Davis right after the national title, and Reese, you know, astutely brought it up. And he says, hey, we're going to have some of these conversations with them. I don't know how you don't start him, right? But also I don't know how you keep two other 5-star quarterbacks sitting on the bench in this world that you can go plug and play right now.
Listen, I know players want to play, but is there not a little bit of you, if you're Stetson Bennett, that would be like, man, I could John Elway this thing. I can just walk off as national championship and never lose another game in my life. Let's call it quits right here. Is there not a little part of you that would think about that if you were Stetson?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, but then I started thinking about it, Jim, because I thought that at first. I'm like, dude, this guy basically could join Augusta tomorrow, and no one's going to tell him no, right? Like, we'll get that membership. Like, he could put a State Farm insurance thing, and everybody will want to buy their insurance from Stetson Bennett the rest of their lives. They can make a lot of money, but like, do we say that about a golfer after they win Augusta? Right, in the Masters, it'd be like, well, I mean, he won. He'll never win another title again, so probably best to just put the clubs up. Like, no, like Stetson, has been told he couldn't do it all his life, and he just won a damn, national championship game against, the greatest dynasty there is in college football and the greatest coach ever and the Heisman Trophy winner. Like, who says he can't? Right? I mean, he won in a semifinal game. He won in a national championship game. It's not Stetson's issue. It's a Kirby issue because I know Stetson wants to play.
Peter, I've asked this to and we're talking to Peter Burns from the SEC Network. I've asked this to a couple of people. It sounds ridiculous on the surface because one's 46 years old, one is 70, but moving forward from this point, who wins more national championships, Nick Saban or Kirby Smart?
How do you not pick Kirby? Right? I mean, Nick didn't win his first one until 52, and now Kirby has built this thing and put it into alignment. I mean, I said that it would be a disappointment if we're having this conversation in 10 years and Kirby doesn't have 3 titles underneath his belt. I legitimately think that what he's built in Athens, now finally getting this win, is a younger edition of what Nick has brought, right? By, 30 some odd years or 20 some odd years, the age differential, right? I mean, Nick didn't win his first till 52. Kirby's played for 2 by the age of 46, and he's won 1 already. And in the name, and now in this world of name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal, how in the world did the big guys ever miss? I'm being serious. If you got 2 signing days and you got the transfer portal, like, how do you miss? And Jim, you were talking about some of the headlines of these guys transferring out, and Sanders and other guys are deciding, hey, I just don't want to be here any longer. That almost helps Saban at this point because now that's 6 or 7 different spots or roster opportunities you can have to go say, hey, we're going to take the Eli Ricks of the world. If you're an All-American and we need you somewhere, why would you not want to play outside of Kayvon Thibodeau at Oregon? Why would you not want to come play for Alabama? Kirby's going to be able to do that, and I think he has that passion where he wakes up every single morning and he wants to beat the piss out of Alabama. Like that's what happens. And I don't see that flame being extinguished. For Ed Orgeron, it was the same thing. It was, I want to beat Alabama. But once he did it, it was like, all right, I'm going to go enjoy the fruits of my labor. I don't see Kirby being that way. And I think that's why I'm picking Kirby in that bet.
JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline, Peter Burns, SEC Network, and you see the golf flags on his wall there. He's a golfer as well, and we've turned the corner. Were you watching, before we get back to football, were you watching golf last night, the Sony Open? Kevin Na just killing it last night. Did you see any of that?
I watched zero golf because what it does is, for me, I'll watch the majors, and for me, I hate watching golf because all it does is I want to go play it then. Right. Like, and especially I'll see guys that I used to compete with playing college golf, and they're living the greatest life in the history of that. And now I'm talking to guys in the next round, like who won in life? Like, that just, I mean, it just makes me a little bit jealous of what they're doing now.
It's like married guys at a strip club. I mean, what are you doing?
I mean, come on. Right?
What are you doing? Yeah, exactly.
But I heard, and Justin Thomas, what he did over there, shooting 61. I think if not mistaken, he has the course record at Kapalua and at the place that they have it in Waikiki this week. So, there's just something about Bama guys doing well over there in Hawaii, to say the least.
Yeah, Hawaii golf, it's where it's at. So in football, we're sitting here, you're speaking of Alabama and the players they've lost or could lose. The receiving room hasn't been a point of concern at all for Alabama in a long, long time. But we were talking yesterday on the show, all of a sudden, you're used to eating the best of the best. I mean, grade A right there in the receiving room. Where are you on Alabama receivers going into next year? And is that a place that could be interesting in the portal in the next couple of days?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because it's like when Alabama fans are complaining about their wide receiver room, it's kind of like, my Bentley doesn't get nearly as good a gas mileage as some of these, as the hybrid Rolls Royce or whatever it is. Again, once Jameson Williams, it's not just the way that Saban recruits good coaches and quality assistant guys or whatever. It's behind the scenes, and it's also how he hit the transfer portal, right? I mean, Henry To'oTo'o, he wasn't the greatest, linebacker in the history of the world, but he did a damn good job kind of shoring up the middle. Same thing with Jameson Williams, right? How did we know that this kid was going to be that good, right? Doesn't play that much over at Ohio State because of the amount of success that they had in that room in NFL talent. But to look at that and go, this is what we need. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Saban and that recruiting staff have basically NFL talent evaluators looking at tape and transfer portal all day long and saying, yeah, we want this guy, this guy, this guy. I mean, Alabama, Georgia, even Ohio State, those top tier programs right now are like Leonardo DiCaprio in his prime at the bar. Like all you got to do is point and they're coming, right? Because that's how much success that they're having. And how do you say no to that? And I mean, we're seeing it in basketball, like Xavier Wheeler. It was over at Georgia, right? Good player, but that's all Georgia had, and they were struggling. He goes, well, if I'm going to play one more year, I want to go play with the best. I'll go and go play for Kentucky basketball. I mean, we're just going to see it, and we're hoping that the Kentuckys of the world, the Mississippi State, the Arkansas of the world are able to pull talent to keep them having some parity, right? Lance, I mean, that's where you got to go right now.
Hey, so away from these two teams, and Peter, you grew up in this industry watching LSU and watching Nick Saban win a national championship, and Les Miles and Ed Orgeron, and after that perfect, unbelievable 15-0, the last 2 years, 11-12. Now Brian Kelly takes over, and Ryan Brown was right across from us yesterday, and he had a list of like 7 or 8 coaches and how many national championships over under they will win moving forward. He didn't bring up Brian Kelly. And so when he was done, I had to remind him Brian Kelly is going to win a national championship. I don't know where you are on that, but I truly believe with the resources, with that program, with this fan base, Brian Kelly will win a national championship.
It's funny because now we start looking at, because I still don't put, and as much as I love them, I don't put LSU on that same level as Alabama and Georgia right now. As good as 2019 was, I put them in that kind of tier 2 of kind of where Texas A&M is right now. Like a lot of talent, they have all the pieces there, but I'm not necessarily 100% sold on that. No different than, Lance, when I look at like an NFL team going, you know what? Man, this NFL team, the Buffalo Bills are really good. I can guarantee you they're going to win a Super Bowl. Well, guess what? Maybe they don't because how much parity there is either in the AFC East and how good the Patriots have been, or just the AFC in general, because it feels like the SEC is getting so good as far as so much talent that for those contenders, it is any given Saturday you can lose. And I hope that's going to be the case. I think the transfer portal is definitely going to help LSU. Like in the past, when you make a coaching change, your team sucked, right? That's pretty much the reason why you were gone, and you lost 2 recruiting classes. Like the first recruiting class is basically a wash, and the one before that sucked because everybody said you were going to get fired. Now with the transfer portal, you can at least plug and play a little quicker. I just don't know if you can plug and play as quick as what Texas A&M has already built there, or where Alabama and Georgia are right now. If you gave me the over and under of being 0.5 national championships for Brian Kelly at LSU, I'm not quite sure if I'm not taking the under on that. And that sucks for me to say.
Peter, when you're listening to music, Rockstar played a Leonard Skinner show last night with his Black Jacket Symphony, one of their great albums down in Greenville, Alabama. When you throw stuff on, what do you listen to? What genre do you go to?
I'm all like, this will be the craziest as a tall, white, lanky golfer. I am all like late mid 90s Houston rap. Like we're going like Scarface, we're going UGK, like Mike Jones still tipping. I know. Again, that's
Ghetto Boys.
When you look at Ghetto Boys, little Bushwick Bill. When you look at me, isn't that basically what comes to mind? But I'm being dead serious. That's like all I listen to. Like there'll be new songs out. I'm like, and I'll tell my wife, I'm like, man, this song's really good. And she's like, sweetheart, is that the first time you're hearing it? I'm like, yeah. And she goes, that song came out like 6 years ago. And I'm like, oh, it might be a hit. Like all I listen to is old. Like, do y'all listen to new music? Or do you all listen to like your favorite go-to?
I'm the oldest in the group, and I promised myself in my 20s, as I watched people get older in my industry, that I would always listen to current music because I think it's important for you to stay relevant with what's going on. So yes, I make an effort to listen to all genres and current music because it's a career choice. I want to know what's going on. I don't want to be you and your wife 6 years late on a song, and I didn't know that Kesha was rocking it back in 2002.
Lance, you know who Jim reminds me of? Remember Steve Buscemi in that meme that says "Hello, fellow kids"?
Yeah,
like I feel like that's exactly.
Hey, we
what
call him
is.
Jimmy Current. I will tell you though, Peter. Here's where current music will get you though, because your kids aren't old enough. Your oldest is what, 3 now, 4?
4 and 2-year-olds. Yeah.
So once they really start listening to music and it's close, my kids want to listen to top 40 stuff. And so I'm kind of exposed to it a lot, and especially by the pool during the summer when we put on Pandora, it's typically today's hits. Now, when the friends come over on the weekends and the kids aren't around, it's 90s hip hop. So I'm right there with you.
And I get a little bit of that. I don't have it through the kids, but what I do is the kid co-host that I work with, Chris Doring, because all the girls he dates are really hip with all the young music, these 19, 20-year-olds. So I listen to a lot of what he listens to by proxy. So that's how I get my music taste right now.
Hey, I tell you and your wife, JP Sax, I think you'll like the lyrics of that. I mean, that's some good music there. You can check that out. We always enjoy your time, Peter, man. We wish you could be in studio. Teleport to the studio every time you join us. We could do this for an hour. That'd be fantastic.
Hey, listen, let's try to make something like that happen. I'm all in. And I mean, again, now that you guys can just kick Ryan Brown out like permanently. And if we can replace him, I'm good. I'll do it for 15% less of what Ryan Brown has. How about that?
Ooh.
I'll negotiate less.
15% less of what Brown makes. Can you do all the stuff Brown does? Because he does a bunch of stuff around here. What has happened is we built this out. Brown has carved out a part of the business here where he doesn't tell us, like, just we have a bank of 5 TVs on that wall and we have a universal remote. They were all dark until we worked on it for about 15 minutes. Our brain, John Lunsford, finally got them on because Brown had it coded where he's the only one that can turn the TVs on.
He's kind of like, did you watch Breaking Bad?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Jesse Pinkman learned the recipe where Gus couldn't kill him off.
Yeah.
And so Brian, so Brown knows everything around here now. He's not expendable anymore.
We got these wall of like 15 televisions over at SEC Network, and it's called the Dari No Controller, because Dari was the only one for like 5 years that actually knew how it. Like, we had to call Dari like on the weekends, like, hey, I'm trying to get the Auburn game on. Like, oh, he's like, you need to hit this button and that button and then go there. So that's how you keep longevity.
Yeah.
But let's do it again, boys. We appreciate the invite for sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I love the humble brag. I said we've got 5 TVs on that wall. You went 15. That's really good. Peter Burns.
It just means more, Jim. What can I say?
SEC money, man.
Peter Burns on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. Thank you, Peter, man. Have a great weekend there.